There will come a time that we will not be here. There will come a time that those that are sitting next to you will not be here. There will even come a time that those that we once knew, who were faithful, because of adversity and because of the devil's plan, we find that they are no longer attentive to what God is saying. As we review chapter 6 today, I had no idea that God was going to go this deep. I said, Lord, this is too deep for them. He said, you let me take care of that. I said, fine. Because normally I kind of simple it down a little bit so to make sure that you don't choke on it. Because the last thing that I would want to do is to serve you something that you would choke on. Because then you could die. And that wouldn't be good. I don't mean like you would die physically, but it would drown you. We were at Genesis 6 last time, and I read through it. I breezed over it because we didn't have time to divide it. But as I shared with you, we would be coming back to it because there was a lot of lessons, a lot of information in this. I told you, like Psalm, if it's straight through, we'll go right through with no problem. But if there's principles and things that we need to learn and that we need to apply, we'll stop. We could spend the next 3 weeks on Genesis 6 as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. But one thing's for sure is we're going to start from verse 1 and we're going to go back again. This time, we're going to go through it slowly. Because a lot of people read things in English and they think that well, because that's what it says, that's what my brain comprehends. But when you find, just even in verse 1 alone, you're like, whoa, I never thought about that. Something as simple as this. Now it came about when men began to multiply on the face of the land. Since when can men multiply? Or they can't. So it's not referring to the male species. Mankind. Okay? It came about when mankind began to multiply on the face of the land. Well, we were wondering when that was going to happen because it had to be pretty boring. I mean, their Christmas parties could only be so much fun with just a handful of people. And daughters were born to them. The emphasis here is daughters. It says nothing about sons. Agreed?
Yes.
The sons of God. Here we go. The sons are mentioned. That the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. Who are the sons of God? Any idea? Well, why don't we let the Bible tell us who the sons of God are, okay? I can tell you the Hebrew of what it means. Benah Ha Elohim. B-E-N-A-H Ha H-A Elohim. E-L-O-H-I-M. Does anybody remember what Elohim means?
I remember learning about it.
It's plural for God.
Plural for God.
Mm-hmm. It's referring to all members of the Trinity. These are the sons of God. Turn with me to Job 1. And we're going to let the Bible answer who is the sons of God. It's so clear. I can't tell you how many theological camps have argued over this. And they've presented their cases, but in the end, Scripture always wins. Job 1:6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. Any idea? Let's go to the next one if you don't. Job 2, verse 1. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came along them to present himself before the Lord. Still any idea who the sons of God are? Turn to Job 38.
What was it?
Job 38. Verse 7. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Who are the sons of God?
Angels.
Excellent answer.
That it?
It's exactly right.
What it says in mine.
It says in yours. See? Angels. So now go back to Genesis 6. Now that we know the answer.
Good or bad?
Good question. Good angels or bad angels? Is it the good witch or the wicked witch? Which one? We shall see. And the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. What do you think? They were the good angels or bad angels?
Bad, probably.
Fallen. Absolutely right. There's two kinds of angels, elect or fallen.
Right.
As we previously studied some time ago, not too long ago actually, Satan declared war on God when he attempted to overthrow God long before Adam and Eve were here. It was in Isaiah 14. I don't think we need to go over that. If you for some reason missed it, just go to Genesis 1. The first Genesis video, Genesis number 1 and number 2, will cover it. The video's on YouTube. Genesis, Sparta Bible Church, Genesis number 1 and number 2. Lucifer planned an invasion. Lucifer planned an invasion of heaven, taking a third of God's angels with him. 1/3. So out of all the angels that exist, all the angels, two-thirds of them remained with God. 1/3 followed Satan. And the Bible doesn't say how many. It says a myriad. You're talking billions of angels. So if there's billions of angels, then that means that 1/3 of a billion went with Satan. Now we've already covered how Satan aspired to be like unto God. He rebelled against his creator and left the earth waste and void and without form, as we find it in Genesis 1:2. But God restored this ruined earth and placed another, Adam, over his creation, and gave Adam the dominion that Lucifer once held. See, the Bible tells us, and I covered this before, that Lucifer was in charge of God's glory. He was in charge of everything. But it wasn't enough for him. See, that spirit of it isn't enough is what Satan uses today to distract us from God's plan. I didn't write it. We've learned this. But God had restored this ruined earth and placed Adam over his creation and gave Adam the dominion that Lucifer once held. This man who now held sway over God's earth became the target of Satan's vicious attack, and Satan succeeded. Man came under the curse of the Almighty God when he sinned in the Garden of Eden, but God thwarted the ultimate victory of Satan. God stepped in, didn't he? And he revealed a plan of redemption whereby Satan would be ultimately defeated. See, he's defeated, guys. We now, and the spirit of the Antichrist is the biggest issue we face. Not Satan directly. We read about God who made his declaration in Genesis 3:15 to the serpent, to the woman, and then to the man. Satan now learns how he will be defeated. The seed of the woman is the Lord Jesus Christ. The moment he heard that, and he said to them, remember the seed conversation? He knew. Whoever that seed is, he's my demise. We covered all that already. This phrase, the seed of a woman, indicated unmistakably the fact that this coming Redeemer and this coming seed would have a human mother but not a human father. The references to the virgin birth of the Lord Jesus Christ via the Holy Spirit. Satan's only hope of victory lay in the prevention of the seed of the woman from being born, or to destroy it after it had come. If Satan could only interrupt the line of this coming promised seed at any point, then maybe he'd win. So now Satan concentrates on the birth of the children in the line of the seed of this coming Redeemer. As we begin to open up more of Scripture, Satan will poke his little head here. If he can get into a serpent, why couldn't he get into Judas? Ah, he did. He even got into Peter. Even Peter. It's not that he got into Peter. It was his mind of what Peter said. He said, "Get behind me." He called Peter Satan. It's a concept, not an animal with red horns. It's ridiculous.
Right.
When was the last time a moldy piece of cake got your attention?
Not at all. And throw it around.
Face Satan's first attempt was when Eve gave birth to her first two sons, Cain and Abel, in Genesis 4:1. We learned that. Eve eventually believed that Cain, her firstborn, was already the promised seed. We learned that. She said, "Here, I have a man-child." So he uses Cain to destroy Abel, the supposed promised seed, believing that in this way he could defeat God's promise of Genesis 3:15. The concept that got Eve is the same concept that got Cain. We know that the murder of Abel was Satan-inspired because we read it in 1 John 3:12. But let's look again. First John 3:12. See, we're expecting this red-horned, mean, evil guy to come and cause problems, but that's not where it happens. Oh, in some of the slightest situations. 1 John 3:12. Not as Cain, who was of what? The evil one. Hello. You see? So first Eve, now Cain. You'll notice as time goes on, he spreads it out. He doesn't hit every single one because it's too much energy. He says, wait a second, this is going to be more than what I thought. We read last week in Genesis chapter 6 where Satan caused the whole human race to become corrupt, except for one man and his family. How did he do it? Through the systematic breakdown of the home. That's what he did. Did Satan go after Adam? No, who did he go after? Eve. Why? Because he knew where Eve was, what her he knew Eve. He paid attention. He saw. He never went after Adam. Some of our greatest tests are that way. Noah and his family were the only believers left on earth. Next, at the Tower of Babel in Genesis chapter 11, we haven't gone over that yet. Again, the human race is corrupted through a political religious system that God thwarted by the confusion of tongues that caused them to scatter abroad. Again, one man is singled out as the one through whom the Messiah would come. Abraham was told that he would be the one. Christ was to come through Abraham. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. So when Satan heard that, through Abraham, so he skipped everybody else and went right towards there. Satan tries to destroy the whole nation of Israel in Egypt. Pharaoh, a type of Antichrist, orders all males to be killed. Why not the females?
It is after the Christ.
But where does the Christ come from?
Abraham.
The female. But because of Abraham's seed, it takes a man in order to do it. I guess he didn't know Scripture, did he? At one point in Israel's history, Satan was successful in killing all the seed royal of the house of Judah. One boy was hidden in the temple for 6 years during this awful threat. 2 Chronicles 22 tells us that Joash was spared. He was the only person on the earth through whom the Messiah could come. God spared him. So every time Satan tries, God always has an answer. God always has an answer. God always has an answer. Later, during the time of Esther, Satan uses a man named Haman to make a decree to kill all Jews, young and old, including women and children, in one day. But read Esther chapter 3. God used the woman Esther and Mordecai to spare the nation. Again, I'm just giving you an 30,000 feet overview. We'll go back all later as we go through the scriptures. One of the most ruthless attempts of sin. I think you've learned that what comes out of my mouth, I can back up in scripture. Okay. Later in history, one of the most ruthless attempts of Satan was the edict of Herod to kill all the babies 2 years old and younger in Bethlehem, in all the coast thereof. Right? Let's go to Revelation 12. Mm-hmm. Praise God. It should be. If the Bible, man, how many times have you thought, man, this Bible is boring? There's so much in it.
You can't comprehend it. If they don't comprehend it, they're not going to get it.
Revelation 12:4. I'm trying to kind of rush because I really want to get to know us. So is it okay if I run you over a little bit tonight so we can get to the ark?
Yeah.
Okay. No matter how long it takes?
I don't care. I've got all mine.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Carol?
That all night.
Pam's? Is that okay with you? I say Pam's because there's two of you. It's easy.
I have no
You
appointments
both
tomorrow.
Okay? Well, I mean, we all have to work and there's things. I just want to make sure it's okay before I go because I really want to go to get to those handouts tonight. And I got a video for you too. I do. Yeah, it's almost, if we can get to Adam, it's almost like I said, Lord, it would be really cool if I could kill the lights and I could have displayed it on here. It's that kind of a video. But we can't. So we're going to turn around and we're going to look at that and pretend it's big.
Okay.
Revelation 12:4. And his tail swept away a third of the stars of heaven. And his tail swept away 1/3.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay?
1/3.
1/3 of what?
Stars.
Of the stars of heaven, and threw them to the earth. Oh. So,
The fallen angels.
1/3. Yeah, why? How do you know they're fallen? Because heaven to earth is a long fall. Fallen. So they're on earth. Okay? And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth, he might devour her child. When was that? No, when was that? Who's the woman? Who was she about to give birth to, and where
Mary.
was it?
Mary and Joseph.
And where was it?
Bethlehem.
Dragon was right there, with 1/3, right there. That's what it says. Oh, I didn't write that. I'm not interpreting that differently. It's what it says. And another sign, look at verse 3. Go to 12, 1. And a great sign appeared in heaven. When? It does not say. So all we have is what it says. A woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And she was with child, and she cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. So keep in mind, there's something going on in heaven. They're not struck by time like we are. But there's a vision down at this one moment. That's why it's called a revelation. We see it as, oh, it's something in the future, but it's not. It's something that's already happened. And another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and his heads were 7 diadems, and his tail swept away 1/3 of the stars of heaven, and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth he might devour her child. And she gave birth to a son, a male child, who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared by God, so there she might be nourished for 1,260 days. My friends, if we go, and when we go back to the time when we get to it and we read, we will count 1,260 days. Right? 3.5 years. We're not doing it now. But thank you. 3.5 years. There's something. Write down 3.5 years. Finally, Satan used Judas Iscariot to betray Christ, which led to the cross. Satan must have thought he had the victory over his enemy, the Lord Jesus Christ. Little did Satan realize that Christ's death set the whole human race free from the penalty of sin. You ever notice at the end of Passion of the Christ, you haven't seen it yet, when they show Satan and Satan screams, his head's cut off. He's done. He's through. He's got nothing. The fact is he screamed when Christ died, not when Christ came back. Because he knew he's dead. But when everything goes dark, there's judgment. They've seen throughout Scripture it go dark. Judgment, judgment, judgment. Even Satan and the angels, darkness, judgment. When he saw that, he thought, oh no! My time is limited! As I said, little did Satan realize that Christ's death set the whole human race free from the penalty of sin and death. Also, that death could not hold Christ in the grave. Could you imagine what the angels did when he died? See, what do we know about when Christ died? He's on the cross. He says, "In their hands I commit thy spirit." Then what? What do we know after that?
He was buried.
He was buried. What else?
And went down in the,
Grave.
he went down to get the keys.
The keys of heaven. Keys of the devil.
Hold, slow. Okay,
Yeah, that's good.
slow. Turn with me to Revelation 1, verse 17.
I'm interested.
I love
Revelation, bro.
Revelation 1:17. This is John writing Revelation. And when I saw him, is that little h or big H?
Big
Which means who? When I saw who?
Christ.
Jesus Christ. I fell at his feet as a dead man, and he laid his right hand upon me, saying, "Do not be afraid, I am the first and the last, and the living one, and I was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and Hades." Very, very good. You get a star for that
Oh
answer.
no. You can put it on the chart.
And just to irritate the devil, you a red star. Because you know what red means?
What?
Jesus' blood,
What is it?
not Satan's color. You see how deceitful that is? Unbelievable. He even uses his blood color to try and get that on.
True.
Oh, imagine that. When people are driving and it's a cop, what color car are they looking for?
Red.
Why?
Because those are the.
Troublemakers, Carol.
Why?
Red triggers anger.
19. Write therefore the things which you have seen, and the things which are, and the things which shall take place after these things. As for the mystery of the 7 stars, which you saw in my right hand, and the 7 golden lampstands, the 7 stars are the
Angels.
of the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands are the 7.
Churches.
Hello. Turn with me to Jude, please. Hey, Jude.
There's only 7 churches?
Well, obviously there's a lot. There's 7 churches on this block.
Well, I know.
No, the main 7 we'll go over later.
Okay.
Jude 1.
Jude. Where are you?
Now wait, hold that. Hold on, I almost jumped ahead. That's really important. Hold that spot.
Okay.
Go back to Genesis 6. Ooh, almost jumped over that. I got so excited and fired up, ready to go over the ark.
First.
2. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. Now, and angels, the question is, what are the angels doing on earth?
Causing trouble.
But how could they? Wait a second, though. But the fact is, you couldn't see them.
Right.
So how could they copulate with human women?
They just do. Somehow.
Some way, somehow, something happened, and they received a special body.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Now look at this. Look at Jude 1:6. Jude 1:6 tells us, and angels who did not keep their own domain. Where was their domain? Their domain is in heaven. They got cast down to earth, and then after the chaos and the rebuilding, they got thrown back up. But here they come back down again. And it says, but abandon their proper abode. He is kept in eternal bonds under darkness. Darkness means what? Judgment. Remember? Under darkness for the judgment of the great day. Now, let's talk about the invasion of the fallen angels on earth. The word domain and the angels, but who did not keep their domain. The word domain means arche, A-R-C-H-E. It means the first in order. The angels. Who came first? The angels or mankind? Angels. First in order. Their domain. The first creation up there. It also refers to the means of a sphere of influence or power. Who were these angels working for before they fell? God. John 1:1, in the beginning is also arche. In the beginning, arche. Order of events. First in order. A sequence of events. They did not keep their own domain, but abandoned their proper abode. What's an abode? Doesn't this look like this is an abode? Do you like my abode? This is my abode. This is my residence. This is our church abode.
Right.
It's a residence. The word abode means a habitation or a dwelling place also. Now, 2 problems. 1, they violated their original purpose to serve God, the angels. That's why there was judgment. by identifying with Lucifer with his rebellion, and they left heaven and went to earth. So two things they did wrong. One, they disobeyed God. Two, they left earth.
Without him.
So judgment is on them. He is kept in eternal bonds under darkness for the judgment of the great day. The great day is not referring to the great day that we think. Because the lake of fire is about salvation, not about what we did or didn't do. Yes.
Back at, you said they left Earth? At what point is this? I'm missing something.
No, they left heaven and went to earth, remember?
Oh, left heaven, yeah.
Yeah, they were in heaven.
That's what I thought. Okay.
At first, when the 1/3 rebelled, what did the tail do? It swept them where? Down to earth. So Satan, and they're on earth, and all this disorder is going on. Genesis 1:1, Genesis 1:2. Because at some point this fall took place. At one point Lucifer said, I want to be like you, and there was a revolt in heaven. But the revolt wasn't just in heaven. It was on earth before we were here. There was an earth before the earth. We had a teaching back in Genesis where we realized that the rebuilding of earth in Genesis 2 was a recreation of creation. Why would God create something dead and bad? He wouldn't. It says his work is perfect. So he created a perfect environment.
Like me.
He had to redo it because of Satan.
Because when Satan fell, absolutely right, earth then became a place because God wasn't going to have him up there. So he cast him down. This is the new abode for Satan. But wait a second. God had better plans. He had to solve this problem. So in order to solve that problem, he packed it in ice. He froze it. Moved Satan back to heaven. The angels, the fallen, went back to earth. He defrosted the earth and put mankind on it.
And started over.
That's correct. All that was covered in Genesis 1 and 1:2 on the YouTube videos.
Okay.
They're imprisoned right now. The 1/3 are imprisoned right now. Okay? Out of the 1/3, there's 3. Ugh.
There's 3.
Out of the 1/3 that's left, over here, they're divided into 3 kinds. Okay? Again, this is what the Bible says. I only went over a little bit before, but I will go into that, but just give me a moment for right now.
Okay.
They are imprisoned right now until a future time, or the judgment of the great day, which is after the end of the 7 years of tribulation. Now, if you have a timeline, you will see on the timeline where these are located. After Jesus returns to save Israel from the armies in the Antichrist, where Satan and the false prophet, notice how the false prophet and the Antichrist are 2 separate people also, are sent to the lake of fire, and Satan is confined for 1,000 years, and the fallen angels are judged and sent to the lake of fire. Those who are confided, they're imprisoned. Those that are in Revelation 9 are demons on the abyss under the 3 kinds.
Yeah.
One of the 3 are those who are confined in prison for their lack of obedience. The second 1/3 are those that are in Revelation 9, they're demons who are in the abyss under the command of Abaddon. We'll cover all that as we get there.
Right.
I'm just giving you an overall. So out of the 3 kinds of angels, of the 1/3, one of them are those that are confined in prison due to, one, they left God, they disobeyed God, and they came to earth, which is what we're reading in Genesis 6. That 1/3 are imprisoned right now. The second of the 1/3, are those referring to Revelation 9. They're demons, and they're in the abyss right now under the command of Abaddon. And the 1/3 is a group of demons which are part of the 6th trumpet judgment under the river Euphrates. We'll cover that when you ask about the 7 churches and all those trumpets. It's all there. I'm just giving you an overview now.
Under the river?
Yep, River Euphrates, that's where they're located. So if you were to dig deep enough in the River Euphrates, you'll find the angels, but I don't suggest you try and go that deep.
No.
They're currently serving Lucifer in heaven.
They are?
Yeah, there are angels that are right now that go back and forth between heaven and earth. Remember in Job? When did Job get attacked? He got attacked by demons. They went after all those people died.
Right.
So they're still going back and forth. Remember, there's one third, but out of the 1/3, there's 3 more that are still, one of them is imprisoned.
So it's going back and forth between heaven and earth?
Yeah. The comparison in Jude 1, look at 7. Watch this. 6 said, and angels who did not keep their own domain, but abandoned their proper abode, he is kept in eternal bonds under darkness for the judgment of the great day. Just as, this is a comparison now, look at verse 7. This is a comparison. Don't forget, a comparison. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, since they in the same way as these indulged in gross immorality and went after strange flesh, are exhibited as an example in undergoing the punishment of eternal fire. That's a huge paragraph. But I'm ready to divide it. You ready? Because it's kind of huge. The comparison in Jude 1:7 is the same sin as the sexual perversion found at Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember what we're reading in Genesis 6 about the angels came down and had perversion with the earthly women? It's the same. He's comparing it. This Jude 1, 6, and 7 is referring to Genesis 6, 2. My brain just went south. 1:2. 6:2. Genesis 6:2. Genesis 6:2 and Jude 1, 6, and 7 are referring to the same time. Jude says, just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, since they in the same way as these indulged in gross immorality and went after strange flesh. They were not supposed to have sex with earthly creatures for some reason. And the Bible does not tell us how they got away with this. It doesn't. But it does tell us that as part of the angelic conflict, as part of this roaring battle that continues on, strange things keep happening. But God always shows up, and there's always judgment. That's why it says that. Now, them, you see where it says, just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them? The word them is referring to the cities. Okay? So just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, the cities, they, since they, in the same way, they is referring to the cities, in the same way as these are referring to the angels. So let me go through that again. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, the cities, since they, the same way as the angels, indulged in gross immorality. These is referring to angels, not cities. If you look at the English breakdown of that thing, there's no way that wouldn't make sense. These is referring to angels. And an event that precedes this event is referring to Sodom and Gomorrah. So what Jude is saying, look, just as in the future, as Sodom and Gomorrah did, this time period back in Genesis 6, this immorality is the same as that. It's a comparison from an event that, if we're in Genesis 6, hasn't happened yet. Right? It's referring to Sodom and Gomorrah. It's a different time period. Right? We're talking about Noah, right? We're about to talk about Noah. Okay, Sodom and aha! Now we're tying it in. So, as we see, he's comparing, Jude is comparing that, look, the same sexual immorality that's causing God to wipe off this planet, guess what? It's this same thing that he's going to do it too. Because think about it. Think about it. Was Noah fire or water?
What do you mean? He's water.
Noah is water. What's Sodom and Gomorrah?
Fire.
Fire. It's not the same time, is it? What happens first?
Water.
Water, and then fire, right? Sodom and Gomorrah is after. So, not only does God create perfect environment, Satan screws it up. He puts it in ice. He then recreates heaven and earth again. What happens? Sexual immorality comes into play. He floods it with water. He brings creation back. There's more immorality, and now he uses fire. See how that all works out? So Jude is saying, look, they're the same. Pay attention. Let me ask you a question. When's the next time he destroys this earth?
At the end.
Because of what?
Sin.
Sexual immorality. Hello. Who can it be knocking at my door? Go away. Don't come around here no more.
No.
That's what Christians are doing. They're going, no! Because they know. If they would have studied their Bible, Jude is right before Revelation. He's saying, look, just like it happened in the beginning, just like it happened in the middle, it's going to happen at the end. See the connection? I know we're just in Genesis, but look at that. We just took a hot tub time machine over into the future to see that we're going down the same road. Now, man, God brings judgment against the Israelites. Why? Disobedience. Angels who disobeyed, judgment. They left their abode too. Sodom and Gomorrah, judgment. Eternal fire in this passage here, which is at the end of 7, undergoing the punishment of eternal fire, is not referring to salvation, as I said. The eternal lake of fire is referring to salvation, but the judgment due to bad decisions is not. Look at 1 Peter. Turn over to the left, right before 1 John. 1 Peter 3. This is just going to...
Can we back up a second?
Huh?
I need a repeat.
Of what?
That eternal fire is referring to
The
what?
eternal fire is not referring... Here, the eternal fire is a reference to the judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah.
Okay. And not the what? Not
Because remember the angels who are causing all this trouble? We have angels before the flood that are causing all this trouble, right? So what does God do? With flood, he wipes it all away, so they're gone. That includes the giants. We'll get there.
But you were saying it has nothing to do with the...
No, because then he recreates again. There's more immorality, more angels, Nephilim, again. And now this time he uses for the fire. So what the eternal fire he's referring to is not the first judgment, because that's water. It's the second judgment. Not the third judgment, which is the lake of fire one. But there's other judgments in there, but I'm just saying that those specifically that we're covering. The fire of God that came down from heaven. The eternal fire of the lake of fire is referring to salvation, not judgment due to bad decisions. 1 Peter 3:17 now. I know we're going all over the place. I'm sorry. Watch this. These next 3-4 passages, boom, tie it all together. Yet they're in different books.
They're all in different books. Right?
So those that just sit in 1 or 2 books, they never get the full picture. We wonder why they're so confused.
Yeah, and I like how you do this.
Because there's, welcome to the meeting of a pastor. We don't get pastor, we can read from home. Good luck with that. It's a gift. It's not something that's just, but I mean, and look, online's available. We're here, right? Anyway, don't get me started. First Peter 3:17. For it is better if God should will it so that you suffer for doing what is right, rather than for doing what is wrong. For Christ also died for sins once for all, the just for the unjust, in order that he might bring us to God. Aha! That he might bring us to God.
Us.
Having been put to death in the flesh, here we go. You think we got deep. Did I not warn you in the beginning we were going to go deep? I did. I said, Lord, this is too much for them. He said, no, just answer their questions. I said, fine. But it's awesome. Watch this. Look what I just read. Having been put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit. We'll hit that. Keep going. In which also he went and made proclamation to the spirits now in prison.
They're in prison.
What? Who's in prison?
Angels.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Look at 20. And who once were disobedient when the patience of God kept waiting when? In the days of Noah, during the construction of the ark, in which a few, that is 8 persons, were brought safely through the water. Hold on. Let's go back. This is so good. Put to death in the flesh. Let's go back to 17. No, 19, 18. For Christ also died for sins once and for all. We know that, right? The just and the just. All, right? Not just only of one kind.
Right.
There are people that teach that Christ only died for some.
No.
He died for all. That includes all. In order that he might bring us to God.
Us.
Us
Oh, God.
to God.
The simple things.
But look, here it is. But having been put to death in the flesh. Right? Now here we go. But made alive in the spirit, and look at the next. In which also he went and made proclamation to the spirits now in prison. Okay. Put to death in the flesh. Something happened with Christ after his death physically on the cross. The Bible doesn't tell us, but this scripture says he somehow, from the cross, after he died, went to proclaim something to someone in prison.
It was in hell, wasn't it?
He's put to death in the flesh. They put his body into the grave.
Right.
But the immaterial part of Christ, the immaterial, his soul, spirit together, go and make a proclamation of some type to the spirits now in prison. An immaterial, intermediate body. Remember how I told you about somehow the angels got...
Right.
Well, let me tell you something. This is not the only time we see about this in this body, this intermediate body.
Right.
Let me tell you something. When we die, this body stays here. There's another body I get when I get there.
Right.
But, according to Luke, there's an intermediate body. It's the same one that Christ uses to go make the proclamation. Watch this. Go to Luke 16. This is going to blow your mind. You never thought about this, I know it. Because I did. I'm telling you, all day, man. All kinds of stress and pressures coming on me. From every angle. From every way. Did it get me to stop? No. Because I knew I was coming here tonight. That's why I went dashiki. Because I couldn't be the same. I had to appear different. This is my immaterial body. Someday, ask Pam, I'd rather dress African than I would American any day of the year. It's more comfortable, and it just looks cool. I mean, the same guy that walks around in Santa Claus also walks around in this. Okay? Look at Luke.
I'll wear my boo-boo and match.
Luke 16:23. You ready? And in Hades, wait, hold on. Are you there? I got to make sure you're there.
Be there, I don't know.
Luke, are you in Luke?
I'm in Luke, yeah.
Luke, are you in Luke 16?
Luke 23.
Almost.
Get to 16. Don't read ahead.
I'm not.
Pam.
Hey, Pam, you're getting in trouble.
This man?
No.
Okay,
You weren't reading.
I'm right
She
here.
was. She's already going. She reads
I was
fast.
reading over here.
Oh, I see. I didn't see that. It's much different than what I see goes on under the
Okay, go
table.
ahead.
Okay, Luke 16:23. And in Hades he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and saw Abraham far away and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried out and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me and send Lazarus, that he might dip the tip of his finger in water and cool off my tongue, for I am in agony in this flame. Where's Lazarus?
Hell.
In hell.
Lazarus is dead. So's the
Right.
rich man. Where's he going to get a finger and a tongue from?
From Jesus.
Look at what it says. And in Hades, he lifted up his eyes. He's got eyes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Being in torment, and saw Abraham far away. Okay, wait, Abraham in Luke? He's telling a story. So Abraham's dead too,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But he can see Abraham. It's not the dead and buried Abraham that's in the ground with bugs and maggots eating him. It's a different body. But that's not it. And Lazarus in his bosom. Here's Lazarus who's dead.
Supposed to be Lazarus in heaven.
And he cried out and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger. That means he's got some kind of flesh. He's got something, and put it on my tongue. So there's some intermediate body between there and there. That's what this is saying. This is not figurative. This is what he saw.
Now is Lazarus in heaven?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
But look at here. I mean, look at what it says. Look at verse 19. Now there was a certain rich man, he habitually dressed in purple and fine linen, gaily living in splendor every day. And a certain poor man named Lazarus was laid at his gates, covered with sores, and longing to be fed with the crumbs which were falling from the rich man's table. Besides, even the dogs were coming and licking his sores. Now it came about that the poor man died, and he was carried away by the angels to Abraham's bosom. And the rich man also died and was buried. And in Hades he lifted up his eyes. Hades is not hell. Hades is a holding place. Someday God will bring Gene Yancey here to explain the great gulf fix, which are multiple locations. Remember when when Jesus was on the cross and the prisoner was with him, did the prisoner say, hey, I want to go to heaven? He said, no, when you go to paradise, which is all they knew then, remember me. He said, today you'll be with me in paradise. Paradise is a holding pattern. This is showing there's a holding pattern. But it shows that we are going to have an intermediate, some immaterial body. This is what Jesus used. Follow me. It's something between the physical body and the future body. The Bible doesn't tell us. All we have is these stories. All we have is what it says. They had to have something. Otherwise, why do you say dip his finger on his tongue? He's got two body parts. Eyes, finger, and tongue. These are all what we have. Maybe it's not pink. Maybe it's not cream. I have no idea, but whatever.
In this commentary, it said even the Lord's soul went there.
Ah, that's correct. Because it was his soul and spirit. His flesh is still on the cross. Now watch
Would
this.
they not be the soul of Lazarus or Abraham or Richmond?
It doesn't say that. But it could, anything is possible, but it doesn't say that. It just says they as a whole were there.
Right.
We know physically their bodies were not because they were buried. They were physically, you could dig up there. Remember when Lazarus was dead and she said he stunk and the smell? Hello? Yeah, they didn't want, that stinketh didn't follow. Not even in the King James did it follow.
Right.
Now, who are the spirits now in prison?
The angels.
Look at 1 Peter 3:20. It's to the right.
To the right.
1 Peter 3:20. "19 says, in which also he went and made proclamation to the spirits now in prison." Hold on, I'll wait for it.
Right.
1 Peter.
I'm getting there.
No worries.
248, 248, what that says, but it's not.
1 Peter 3:19 and 20. Hold on a
Let's see
second.
here, hang on. Where am I? 340. I'll be all right.
It's back towards the end, close to Revelation.
41.
He's
I'll
almost
get
there.
there. 341. I'm almost there, sorry. 341. I'm there.
Okay, 1 Peter 3:19 and 20. "In which he also went and made proclamation to the spirits now in prison, comma, who once were disobedient,
Yep.
when the patience of God kept waiting in the days of Noah." Go back now to 6, Genesis 6. Let's read about the "Now it came about, 6:1, when men began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose." Those disobedient little angels, there they are. That's the one that's referring to. He said back in the time while he was waiting for Noah. Here it is. "Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, because he's also flesh. Nevertheless, his days shall be 120 years. Now, verse 4, "The Nephilim were on the earth these days." The word Nephilim is the word referring to large people. Giants, large
Oh,
people.
giants.
The King James says giants. There's a big argument. I'm telling you, it's a 30-year argument going on what this means. I'm not going to argue about something that's only mentioned twice in the Bible. Once in Numbers, which is after the second judgment, and this is the first one. So I'm not going to go there. I don't want to. There's all kinds of people that speculate they were all Kareem Abdul-Jabbar type. Forget all that.
Right.
It doesn't matter. The fact is, it says they were here. They were on the earth in those days. And also afterward, when the sons of God, who are the angels, came to the daughters of men, they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. I wonder why they were renowned. My goodness, they were part angel.
Right.
They were,
Our angel.
guess what? Satan got to corrupt again,
Yep, yep.
didn't he? Those little bad demons came down. I don't know how they did it, doesn't tell us, but here again, Satan figures if I can corrupt the seed,
Right.
I got him stopped. So he thinks. Now watch this. "Then the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." Who's evil? That's right. "And the Lord was sorry that he made man on earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And the Lord said, I will blot out man, whom I have created from the face of the land, from man to animals to creeping things." What's a creeping thing?
Animal.
What's a creeping thing?
Oh, serpent.
Hello.
Snake.
He said, "I am so done. This guy is irritating me to death.
Right.
I'm going to get rid of the creeping things too. All snakes, just to show him. And to birds of the sky, for I'm sorry that I've made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. These are the records of the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his time. Noah walked with God. Noah became the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in the sight of God, and the earth was filled with violence." The earth was filled with violence. Who's the chief man of violence? Satan.
Satan,
And God looked on the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. Then God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. And behold, I'm about to destroy them with the earth. Make for yourself an ark of gopher wood. You shall make the ark with rooms, and shall cover it inside and out in pitch. Stop.